Hey, my name is James Nicholson and welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video, I want to address, is buy-to-let dead? You see, we've been making content on this channel for 3 years now, and it isn't great for landlords quite often. We often get negative news about interest rates. We get all the legislation stuff that's coming through. We've got the Renters' Rights Bill coming through. And a lot of this is putting off a lot of landlords. And in fact, hundreds of thousands of landlords watch this channel every single month. And if you look at the comments, you'll often see them say, I'm out. I'm selling this size portfolio or that size portfolio, or I was going to invest and now I'm not. So in this video, I want to talk about if buy-to-let is dead. And if it is dead, are there any alternatives that you can do instead? Now, if you're new around here and you haven't done, do make sure you subscribe to the channel over there and hit that bell notification. We're on the way to 44,000 subscribers, which is crazy. And by subscribing, you'll get all the latest property news, house price news, interest rate news, EPC news, and much, much more. And let's get some views on this video, because I think it's important for people to really understand what's happening in the market. How do we do that? Simple. Smash like, tick a like, do something to the like button. That really helps with the YouTube algorithm, and that's really helped the channel grow. So thank you to everyone that does that. So, landlords do have a difficult time at the moment. Let's look at a few of the problems that landlords are facing. One of the big things that's pushing out landlords at the moment is something called the Renters' Rights Bill. And so the Renters' Rights Bill is a piece of law that Labour have got at the moment. Now, this started with the Conservatives just before they left. It's been renamed as the Renters' Rights Bill now. And the thing that worries a lot of landlords in this is the fact that they're looking to get rid of something called Section 21. That's a no-fault eviction. And that means you can get your property back fairly quickly if you have a problem with your tenant, which some people do. It also means that you've got to consider having pets and lots of other stuff. And because of that, that's meant some landlords have just said, look, that's it for me and I'm out. Other things that landlords have got to contend with is something called Section 24. That's tax rules. That's been around for a while, but it's progressively got worse. It means that you've got to pay tax on all your rental income, and you can't deduct expenses like you would in a normal business. And one of the biggest expenses that you can't deduct is the interest payments from your mortgage. So that is a big difference to a lot of landlords. And if you're a plumber, you can deduct all of your costs, your sandwiches, your petrol, all of this stuff. Landlords don't have that luxury. They can deduct a bit, but this has made it a lot worse than anyone could believe. You've also got the looming EPC rules that are coming up. And so EPC stands for Energy Performance Certificate. Every property needs one. And that is something that they're forcing landlords to get them up to a level C by 2028 if you do a new let, and 2030 if your tenants stay put where they are. That worries a lot of landlords. It means you could have to spend 15 grand per property in order to bring your property up to a certain standard. So that is something else that landlords are worried about as well. And there's lots of other things. So that means that landlords are leaving in record numbers at the moment. 30% of landlords quit over the last few years, and the rental market at the moment is now back to the same size as 2016. The problem is, since 2016, the population has absolutely exploded. You see it every day in the newspapers, don't you? We've got immigration, we've got people living longer, and these things mean that the population in the UK is now struggling to get properties because there aren't enough. So, what's the options for landlords at the moment? Well, vanilla buy-to-let or buy-to-let is a bit harder. However, I still think that it works. And I think if you buy a property at the right price, you can get some good incentives and make some good money, especially if you buy in the right area. And so in the southeast where I am right now, it is hard to do buy-to-let. So a lot of landlords are now looking at other areas, and where buy-to-let can still work is in the northeast. There's a lot of landlords moving into that area. You can get a good yield and make good money in that area. But what if you wanted to be a little bit safer and make more money? So that's what I want to look at here, is some other options and give you some ideas on other strategies you can use to make money in property. And the first one I want to talk about is something called a lease option. So a lease option is, believe it or not, where you can buy a property for £1. And that's how you hear these big companies get bought. I'm sure you heard of football clubs getting bought for £1. You take on, and a new company takes on the debt. Well, you can actually do that with property as well. Now, in a rising market that we've had for a while, it's unlikely that someone would agree to do this. The market's been busy for a number of years now. And so asking someone to sell their property, if they'd sell it to you for £1 and you pay them the balance in 7 years, isn't something that's very likely in a rising market. But now things have changed. There's a lot of excess listings in the market and people would consider this. So a lease option is where you go to a seller and you say, I will buy your property, but we'll delay the completion of it. Maybe 7 years, 8 years, 10 years, whatever you agree. That needs to be something that's worked out between the two parties. So I would go to you and I say, here's £1. I'll take control of the property. I'll take control of the debt. I'll do all the maintenance. I'll deal with any tenant issues and I'll give you £1. And I'll also give you a rent for the period of time that I'm controlling the property. And then in 7 years from now, I'll buy the property from you. Now, for you as the buyer, that works quite well because you agree the price today. So let's just say you agree the property now and it's 100 grand. That's what they need. They've got it listed for 100 grand, but it's not selling for 100 grand at the moment because the market's really slow. But they need that because maybe they got a 95% mortgage. And if they don't do this, if they discount it significantly, they'll lose money. They'll have to pay back the lender money. And they know that they're just going to sit there for a while. So you take the property off them, you control the property, and then you would give them a fee. And that could be a couple of £100 a month, £200, £300, £400, whatever you agree between you that both parties are happy with. You'd then do the maintenance, you'd then rent the property out, and all the issues go on to you. Now, in 7 years, this property might be worth 150k. So you'd then buy that property at this price. This was the price that you agreed. That's the important part here. So then you've instantly created some equity in that property. Now, also the property, as you take over it and control it, could be in a bad state. So you could do a refurbishment, new kitchens, new bathrooms, new carpets, add an extra bedroom. You can do whatever's agreed in the document that you sign together. You'd need to get specialist solicitors to do this. In fact, the Fundamentals of Property Investing course, which I'm going to link below, we talk about how lease options work. It's literally less than 30 quid. So go and check that out and find out how this works. But lease options right now are a good strategy in this market where people can't sell their property. So that's an option. Next is serviced accommodation. And so serviced accommodation is where you you have your property and you rent it out on Airbnb, Booking.com or other places. Now, if you want to do this in the Southwest, it's not going to work great at the moment. We've talked about Airbnb dying in a video this week. The beach towns are struggling with this. Too many people went and did it. Now the councils are charging double council tax. So you want to look at cities or big towns where this can work. A friend of mine is doing it in Dorking in Surrey, right here down the road. And he makes good money doing that. And he makes more than £1,500 extra that he would if he just rented that property out. He gets business people in there. He gets people that come watch Dorking Football Club and all sorts of people. People come for weddings and stuff like that. There's lots of different people that do this. And that's a good place to do it. Somewhere like Dorking where it's not oversaturated with Airbnbs. So service accommodation is another high cash flow strategy that can work if you do it in the right area. Next is HMOs. And this is really popular at the moment because rents are going crazy. Rents are going up, and last year they went up at 10%. Now they're still going up at around 7%, which is still super high. And so what happens here is that you rent the rooms out on a room by room basis. So you might have 5 bedrooms in a property, and rather than getting 1,500 quid for the property, you get like £1,000 per room, but you include bills and everything like that is included. And you'll get different amounts at different areas of the UK. But for example, Leatherhead, down the road from me, that the local councils, if you used their tenants, they would give you £950 per room per month, which works quite well. So HMOs are another high cash flow strategy. We go into that in the fundamentals of property investing as well. So check that out in the description. And the last one, which is my favorite strategy, and that's the BRRR, buy, refurbish, refinance, rent. That's where you buy a property and it needs some work doing to it. Not necessarily needing work doing to it. In fact, I did it on a studio flat that didn't really need lots of work in Dorking, the first property I ever bought. And I just turned that into a 1-bedroom property. We put a stud wall up. I did this like years later, but I could have done it initially. I've just done it last summer. I did that on a property. You can see this on the channel. I bought a studio flat for £120,000. Spent around £6,000 refurbing it. It needed a new kitchen, a new bathroom, carpets and paint. You can do that quite cheap. And so that got refurbished, revalued at £180,000 a few months later. That means that you buy the property, you refurbish it, you refinance it. That, if you're lucky, gets you all of your money back out. The money you've put in is your deposit if it's on a buy-to-let. Hopefully you get all your money back out, if not most of your money back out. And then you rent the property, which we've got that rented out for £950 at the moment for a little studio flat. And that's my favourite strategy. And that is a strategy that works in this market. There are landlords that need to sell or want to sell, that you can buy the property and you can add value to it. Buying a new build buy-to-let isn't going to work in this market. You have to look for stuff where you can absolutely increase the value and do that at an affordable level. Let me know if you think buy-to-let is dead or not. I'd love to know your thoughts and questions in the comments. Do check out the fundamentals of property investing. It's less than 30 quid. Grab it while it's cheap. And do check out all the other content as well on the channel, including this video right here.